Hey guys, it's me, Troy Dellinger, and I'm going to be continuing on biblical history and events. And tonight I'm going to be talking about briefly about the life of Joshua and some of the things that he did. And I'm going to give a brief review of what happened last time. On my last uh, video I did on the series, I concluded the Torah, or what people call the Pentateuch sometimes, which was the first five books of Moses, and I finished up on basically everything that Moses did, and how Israel was uh, under the leadership of Moses. They were let out of Egypt, but then in the wilderness they kind of fell into apostasy, and that generation was judged. Uh, Moses himself was a righteous man, and he was saved. Uh, he did a few things that were wrong that he repented of, but he got that dealt with. But he didn't enter into the promised land or the evil generation, and so uh, Israel was essentially judged. Moses was Moses died, and so that was the end of that. So now I'm going to be looking at the new generation and Joshua, because Joshua would be the next leader of Israel. He would be the one that would be taking Moses' place. So this is a man that had a lot of responsibility, and he had really big boots to fill. And he was very tempted to uh, be intimidated by this, because he was going to take the place of Moses, because he was a righteous man, and he was going to have to lead Israel um, and the new generation of Israel. And he was going to have a lot of military battles, and it was tempting for Joshua to be very discouraged and kind of intimidated. But the Lord had to reassure him to be courageous, to trust in him, and that this was his calling, to lead Israel into the promised land, and uh, and to conquer the land. So I'm going to start here reading in Joshua chapter 1. Now, I'm not going to cover every single thing in the book of Joshua, uh, because that's not what this video series is. This is not going through all the books of the Bible. This is looking specifically at the events and history of the Bible. I do plan on, Lord willing, doing a new series about books of the Bible after this series is over. And then once I do that, I will cover the book of Joshua in more detail, Lord willing. Um, so, um, so yeah, I'll be doing that. I'll work on the, Lord willing, the books of the Bible series after this. But right now, uh, again, like I said, this is just the history. So this will be we'll just be briefly looking at the life of Joshua in this. So I'm going to start here in Joshua 1, as I said, and here it says, Now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses my servant is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses. Now I'm going to go down to verse 7. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whatsoever thou goest. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein, for then shalt thou make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee wheresoever thou goest. So here we get a lot of rich wisdom and insight into this book of the Word of God. I absolutely love the book. So Joshua hid 2 spies in the land. Joshua sent, excuse me. I meant to say Joshua sent 2 spies in the land of Jericho, and Rahab, the harlot, hid the spies and protected them. So then after that, they went out and they blew a trumpet, and the walls of Jericho came down, and they went in there and they destroyed the place and they took it over. So that was one of the more famous battles that Joshua was in. And then shortly after that, there was a man named Achan, and he committed a sin in stealing something that he was forbidden to take. So he was stoned to death, him and his family. So then after that, Joshua got into many military victories and conquests, and he was a very successful military man, and he led Israel into a lot of victories because he was a faithful man and he trusted in the Lord. And Israel was a new generation that were following the Lord, other than the Achan incident. And so they had a lot of success, and they brought many military victories. The story of Joshua is one about triumph. That's the main theme about Joshua. So then after that, Joshua would die. So I believe that the book of Joshua is a foreshadowing of Jesus Christ, of leading his people into the promised land. If you endure to the end, Jesus Christ said, "He that endures to the end will be saved." The generation before Joshua's generation did not endure to the end with Moses, but under Joshua they did endure to the end, and they got saved. And I believe that it's a story of salvation. So you can either choose the way of Moses or the way of Joshua. And like I said, Moses was saved, but when I mean Moses, I mean the generation of Moses. You can follow that generation, or you can follow Joshua's generation. Joshua's generation was a righteous Israel, and Moses' generation was an evil Israel. And you got to follow which way you want to go, whether you're going to enter into the promised land or if you're not going to enter into the promised land. Under Moses' generation, they were not led into the promised land, but under Joshua, they did make it into the promised land. And the promised land, I believe, that is a picture of heaven. So that's all I got. And like I said, Lord willing, I'll talk more about Joshua in my next video about him when I do the books of the Bible. And I'll be looking into that into more detail. Thank you for watching.